There is a facility on Saudi Arabia's Gulf Coast, 64 kilometers north of Dammam, visible from satellite as a dense cluster of refinery towers and export terminals stretching along the waterfront. For 72 hours, the entire global oil market treated this place as an untouchable red line. Not because anyone declared it off limits, not because of any treaty or guarantee, simply because everyone assumed it was too important to strike, too consequential, too deeply embedded in the architecture of the global energy system for Iran to ever target. Because striking it would mean one thing: the economic war had become total. This morning, Iran struck it. Saudi Aramco has halted operations at Ras Tanura, Saudi Arabia's largest refinery on the Persian Gulf Coast, following a drone strike in the area. The moment Bloomberg's headline hit the wire, every oil trader on Earth understood in the same instant what that drone meant. 550,000 barrels per day of refining capacity, halted. The export terminal shipping Saudi crude to China, Japan, South Korea, and Europe, halted. The facility processing 40% of Saudi Arabia's entire domestic fuel needs, halted. And Brent crude, already climbing toward $80 a barrel, surged another 10% within minutes. Iran is no longer targeting military infrastructure. Iran is now targeting the energy infrastructure the entire global economy depends on. Think about what that escalation ladder looks like. On Saturday, Iran struck military bases. On Sunday, it struck civilian buildings and hotel zones. And on Monday morning, it struck the economic engine of the country that produces more oil than any other nation on Earth. The same country whose crown prince Mohammed bin Salman spent 3 years carefully positioning Saudi Arabia as the Middle East's neutral power broker. The destination for investment, the symbol of vision and modernity, the country above the conflict. For nearly 3 days, Saudi Arabia projected extraordinary calm. Schools were open, offices were running, flights were operating normally. The Saudi government managed domestic stability with remarkable discipline, allowing American jets to refuel at Saudi bases, condemning Iran's attacks without officially joining the American operation, walking the tightest tightrope in the region. That tightrope snapped the moment smoke rose over Ras Tanura. Every calculation Saudi Arabia had made, every careful act of managed neutrality, collapsed into a single question that Mohammed bin Salman is now being asked by his own population and his own oil ministry. What do we do now? But Ras Tanura is not even the development that will define this week. The development that will define this week happened at 10:05 a.m. local time on Israel's northern border, when air raid sirens began sounding across Haifa for reasons that had nothing to do with Iran. Rockets and drones launched from Lebanon crossed into northern Israel. Hezbollah had entered the war. This was not a surprise. 6 weeks ago, Hezbollah publicly drew its red line. Any attack on Supreme Leader Khamenei triggers full authority to respond by any means necessary. Khamenei died Saturday morning. Hezbollah waited exactly 48 hours. Then it fired. Now Israel is bombing Beirut. Lebanon, a country that spent 3 years rebuilding from the 2024 war, whose government publicly pleaded for Hezbollah to stay out, which provided no basing rights, which had nothing to do with Operation Epic Fury, is burning again. The IDF has declared a new offensive against Hezbollah that will last several days and may include a ground invasion. Israel's defense minister has already named Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem as a target for elimination. The same assassination doctrine applied to Nasrallah, to Haniyeh, to Khamenei, now being applied to the next tier of leadership in the next country in an expanding war. The conflict that was supposed to last 4 to 5 days is now a three-front war: Iran, Lebanon, the Gulf energy infrastructure. Day 3, and then came the detail that no one in Washington wanted to say out loud. The Pentagon told President Trump to end this war as fast as possible because the United States is running low on missiles. Read that carefully. The Pentagon, the institution that manages the largest military budget in human history, that has spent decades and hundreds of billions of dollars building the most sophisticated missile defense architecture ever assembled, told the President of the United States on day 3 of his war to end it fast. Not that supplies are below optimal levels, not that replenishment timelines are a concern, running low. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of a strategy Iran spent 8 months designing. Slow drones that force Patriot batteries to fire expensive interceptors, ballistic missiles that consume THAAD magazines, then hypersonic Fatah-2 weapons that bypass whatever remains. Iran rebuilt its missile arsenal to 2,000 weapons after June 2025, knowing that America's defense industrial base requires 3 to 8 years to replace a single THAAD battery's interceptors. The attrition mathematics have arrived exactly as designed. Day 3. Pentagon calling Trump, end it fast, the missiles are running out. Meanwhile, Israel is reporting hospitals at capacity. Defense systems are depleted. A ballistic missile struck the city of Beit Shemesh, killing 9 people, including a mother and daughter. Sarah and Ronit killed inside a synagogue by an Iranian ballistic missile that the Iron Dome did not intercept, that David's sling did not intercept, that the Arrow system did not intercept. 2 of Ronit's children were pulled from the rubble alive. Their mother did not survive. This is the war that Netanyahu called decisive. The war Trump said was ahead of schedule. The war the Pentagon is now telling Trump to end fast because the missiles are running out. Across every newsroom, every parliament, every bank trading floor, and every military operations center on Earth this Monday morning, the same comparison is being made, and it is doing more damage to American credibility than any missile yet fired. In 12 days of fighting in June 2025, Israel suffered damage it managed, contained, and survived. In 72 hours of fighting in March 2026, Israel has hospitals at capacity, defense systems depleted, a city struck by a ballistic missile that killed civilians inside a synagogue, Hezbollah rockets incoming from Lebanon again, and the IDF preparing what may become the 4th Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon in 40 years. 72 hours versus 12 days. That comparison is the story. Iran has done all of this alone, without Hezbollah's full arsenal committed, without the Houthis at maximum capacity, without China or Russia providing material military support. Alone, in 72 hours, Iran has struck 11 territories: Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Israel, Lebanon, and Cyprus. It has shut down the world's most important oil refinery, mined the Strait of Hormuz, sunk and damaged multiple tankers, fired on the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait, launched missiles at the USS Abraham Lincoln, and depleted America's interceptor stocks to the point where the Pentagon is calling the president directly. The RAF base at Akrotiri, Cyprus, inside the European Union, inside a NATO-adjacent country, was struck by a drone on Sunday night. Britain told the world it was not in this war. Then Prime Minister Keir Starmer approved American use of British bases to strike Iranian missile launchers. Within hours of that approval being reported, a drone found RAF Akrotiri. Cyprus issued shelter alerts. The EU is now inside the attack perimeter. And Germany, the country that built its entire post-World War II foreign policy identity around the phrase "never again," is now debating whether to join the American-Israeli military operation against Iran, the same operation the UN Secretary General called a squandering of diplomacy, the same operation that killed 108 girls in an elementary school in Minab. September 2019, Iran struck the Abqaiq and Khurais plants and temporarily knocked out half of Saudi Arabia's crude production. Global markets panicked for 2 weeks before prices stabilized. That attack was a warning. Iran fired it, watched the world react, and waited. Today, Iran struck Ras Tanura. This is not a warning. This is the war that 2019 was the rehearsal for. Ras Tanura is shut, Hezbollah is firing, Lebanon is burning, the Pentagon says end it fast, the missiles are running out, and Trump, the man who planned a 4 to 5 day operation designed to produce regime change before Monday's market open, is now watching a stock market that opened to a war with no exit, no ceasefire, no regime collapse, and no end in sight. Share this with everyone you know right now. Ras Tanura, 550,000 barrels per day being halted. Hezbollah has entered the war for the first time since the 2024 ceasefire. The RAF base in Cyprus has been hit. The Pentagon told Trump to end the war fast. The missiles are running low.